What's going on, Workforce? Brian and Chris here, and today we're asking you to smash that like button and subscribe as we dive into a conversation the community is having about World of Warcraft and their update schedule, and whether or not it is malicious in terms of trying to distract from Final Fantasy XIV's latest expansion, Endwalker. Chris, you were talking about this on stream. I caught a part of it. Why don't you give everybody the high-level summary before we dive in?
So, I mean, 9.1.5 is filled with long requested features in World of Warcraft. Long requested features and changes. It is effectively them going down the list of all the things that the community feels like they were told you think you do, but you don't, and giving them the things that they've been asking for. As a result, it feels like a very loaded half patch. Obviously, we prefer to be a 9.2 by now, but it is a very loaded half patch, and it should bring back some big key things. And so it feels like it's saying, please come play World of Warcraft. It feels like they're saying, please do that. But unfortunately, it is coming at a time where players would have to choose between playing Final Fantasy or focusing on this World of Warcraft content. So where people are getting frustrated is that World of Warcraft has a tendency of they do not announce their patch dates until they're much closer because they have a PTR type schedule and so they have an inconsistent schedule. We know when patches are in Final Fantasy because the moment they reveal a live letter, we know that like the second live letter is always 2 weeks before the patch. And so there's all these times that like you and I say what the patch date will be. We say, I'm guessing it's this because they have not officially stated it. And then people are like, wow, you guys are right a lot. Yes, because they're really predictable. So when you've been playing this game for a long time, Final Fantasy is very predictable. WoW is much less so. So when these patch dates release, the thing that has been accused of WoW is that they line these patch dates up specifically to land right before competition so that people get interested, log back into WoW, and are less likely to go play the new shiny thing. Obviously, they're putting a half patch up against an entire expansion, so that's very much a David and Goliath. Best of luck, 9.1.5. But, I mean, it'll be the other way around. 6.3 will likely have to compete with 10.0. So that's just how these games work on opposite cycles. And what we were talking about on stream today is, like, is that malicious? Should people be mad at WoW for doing it? Should people be mad at Blizzard for doing this? Are they the only company that does this? And, like, should the community in general be encouraging or disincentivizing this behavior? And if so, how? How would we even do that?
How much do you feel like the people driving that narrative or that conversation are people who are either mad at WoW, mad at Blizzard, and frustrated with that, and then basically looking at this as saying and inferring some kind of malicious intent, right? Like let's say you've been burned, and we've seen people burned. You got burned, like when we talked about it privately. Like you're like, this sucks, and. Like
I've been uninstalled since all that stuff happened, right. And my sub expires this month. I'd prepaid, so I've had a sub ticking every month.
We never published the video, and he was just like the thing that would make him do that would be something so awful, and unfortunately, that's the thing that happened. And it's just like,
but I said I think I was laughing when I told you. I said it would have to be something preposterous,
right? And it was like, well.
And then it was.
There was absolutely. So how much is that of it is that part, as well as like I look at this and say November the 2nd, who gives a flip? Like, come out. Like Blizzard they're not like they have.
Guys, if you're caught up for Endwalker, absolutely go play 9.1.5 if you're playing WoW. If you're subscribed to both right now, if you're into both games, which there are players that are, go do it. I hope it's awesome.
The other side of it is that there is a pattern that we've seen over with Blizzard where they will target a release or a patch. Now, I think right now the difference is stop sitting on content. Like I think like you got a player base that's like starving. Yeah. So in their peak though, they would target that because they knew that was going to essentially take the wind out of anything. I don't see how on earth 9.1.5, 9.2, a 9.3, a whatever in this frame, like you could say maybe like WoW 2 or something could like do something, but in this time frame could even hold a candle to what we've already experienced with Endwalker.
Not to mention their house is on fire and somebody's like, well, they made their cookies at the bake sale to arrive an hour before mine. They have bigger issues. 9.1.5 is not timed to take on Endwalker as like, this is it. This is our savior. Everybody's going to love WoW after 9.1.5. Like, there is not a day they could release that. They could have released it October 1st. They could release it January 1st. It literally doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They have a huge mountain of things they need to take on to win back player loyalty. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would take years. years of delivering consistently on time, good content every time. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not saying there's not a path to redemption, but
Right,
9.1.5 is not like, okay, and then that's it, finish line, we did it.
But if we run this like a math problem, like you have two trains in the woods, right? And so WoW has broken down and they have to rebuild. Meanwhile, 14's only speeding up. So in order to sit here and when you think of a leapfrogging mentality, like how would WoW even begin to start catching up? Yes, they've got people who are like, I've been on that train. You know, they've got family in that same area. However, like you think about 14, it's like Yoshi P even throwing shade at his own company, saying, if anybody in Square Enix can try to even compete with us, I'd like to see him try. Like, you know, it's like, come on. Like, I hope I'm not overselling it, but everything that I've read and seen and heard and listened to and consumed by Yoshi P, from Yoshi P, and with this game, and as we step into this final saga of a chapter with a future that is now like doubled down committed from Square, like it doesn't even bother me. Please try. I hope more people try to compete against 14 because the genre as a whole will win. Everybody either listening to this, whether you agree or disagree with me, wins when these games are performing at their peak. But WoW in and of itself is in a rebuilding year.
It's not at its peak. And so, like, have there been times when they have used their market share to bully? Yes, absolutely. And people are like, well, Final Fantasy hasn't done that. Great. Final Fantasy hasn't had market share. So, like, they're not exempt from it because we have not seen, do they act that way or do they not act that way? Because they've never been in that top. This is going to be their first time where they are uncontested at the top. Mm-hmm. And now it's a question of, well, how do they behave? So, like, I can't give them credit for something they haven't done because they haven't done it. I'm not saying that there's no evidence to believe that Yoshi P would do that, but like you can't immediately give him accolades for something that they've never been tested, because we see this in the console wars all the time. People think that their side of the console is going to be amazing and they're on top because they've been acting right, and then Sony acts like a dick, and then they have to hand it off to Microsoft, and then Microsoft is like, we're just so appreciative, we just love you guys, until they're on top for a generation, and then they act like dicks, and it goes back the other way.
Thanks, Snapshot Dex, for the 16 bits. We love them anyway. We appreciate those. But so on that note, though, like when we talk about Yoshi P, like the thing is that he doesn't really give himself room to do that, to even have that assumed, because guess what? We know when the patches are gonna be. We know within a relative, like, okay, so they just did it a week. Right. Oh my God. Oh no. You know, not as opposed to like, oh wait, they decided to hold off on Endwalker because because Call of Duty was coming out,
right? To put it out on Guild Wars release date, just kick it out like
for
2
no
months.
reason, and and clearly, like they tell us on the 18th, guys, the game's ready, but you know, like, but we know that like within a couple of months, assuming Yoshi P is going to sit down with us, and not us individually, but as a community, and talk to us about the future of this game post Endwalker. And we speculate that could mean we see a change in how content's rolled out, because we do know there is a cost to that 3.5 month delivery cycle, and that cost is language and content and things like that. And he could be looking at it and changing that up. But I would still vet that, like, if you look at one of the core strengths of 14 is that you have a content update cycle that people can rely on, and even if they adjust that content cycle, it still, in my mind, will be reliable. Hey, we're shifting it to a guaranteed 4 months or 4.5 months. Okay, cool. All right. So every 4.5 months, boom, we know we're getting content.
Right.
Some, you know, like, so it doesn't give a lot of room to sit here and be like, well,
not with content. With content, they can't use content because there have been people who've said with Savage, why would they release Savage right before Christmas? Because if they delay it, they'd have to delay 6.1. There's too many things in flex. So like they can't make one piece of content shift because there's a whole line of things coming down the pipe and you can't slow down the conveyor belt.
Right.
But they can say, hey, with the launch of the new End of Dragons, we're going to have a free login campaign that same week. Oh, imagine that. Hey guys, our complete edition of Endwalker is going to go on sale for the first time the same week as End of Dragons comes out. So like there are ways that, hey, what if we like paid some top content creators from a competing MMO to come over and play very publicly? And what if we gave them interview slots? And what if we invited them to merchandising campaigns where they could, I don't know, help people score free mounts in game from supporting them monetarily for playing our game. What if we did things like that? So like when I say I'm not willing to say like Final Fantasy would never punch back, that's because I think they already are.
Oh yeah.
They just punch differently. And so like these companies are
more
companies.
effectively.
They're companies. They are in business to stay in business. They make a game we're passionate about. They're passionate about it too. They're a part of the community. They love us. We love them. That's wonderful. But it does not stop them from running a business. And we can't say, well, Endwalker gets the month of November. So according to the rules of engagement and gentlemanly game development, Blizzard is not allowed to release content in the month of November. They will all agree and bow. They will actually have links to Final Fantasy on their official website. And then in December, it will be their turn. I shall slap you at that time. Like, that's not the world we live in. November is when games come out. It just is.
I like Tech in chat. Welcome as a first-time chatter. You were epic. Saying Square Enix doesn't punch harder; they punch smarter, and that's what I completely echo that. Yeah, but it's I think it's way, like I said, way more effective. It's absolutely that. It's like, oh, okay, cool. You're releasing a half patch during November. Cool. By the way, like everybody be Endwalking right now. Like it's like, all right, well, enjoy that. We're gonna take some pressure and some distraction off of you, Blizzard. That's us, our gift to you, and we're gonna sit here and deliver this great expansion. Fix your house, get back on the tracks, and we'll see you in 2023. And this shifts to a question I've been wanting to ask you. If we see continued delays over at Blizzard, do you see the potential that 10.0 shifts into an on cycle with Final Fantasy, where right now, instead of every other year where they're kind of trading expansion after expansion, do you think there's a risk where Blizzard falls into competing directly with 7.0?
So first of all, there are so many MMOs coming out now. We are entering a new age of MMOs that you could not release a patch that's not competing with somebody, because we are about to be in a time where a live letter style content, a patch notes, a content patch, or an expansion or a new game is coming on every month all year long. So you'll always be competing with somebody because we're moving into an era. But if you only think that the two big boys in the space are the only ones that exist, World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy, every other game doesn't matter. Who's New World? What even is Ashes of Creation? We don't need any of that. Guild Wars, you're doing great things.
Yeah.
Only these two games matter. If we, for the sake of this conversation, consider only those games matter, I would say nothing is off the table with 10.0. Nothing. Because it might be time to consider a different release model. It might be time to consider a different naming convention. It might be time to, honestly, at the state that World of Warcraft retail is in right now, they should not be kicking anybody out of the meeting for having an idea. If your idea is totally crazy, outlandish, off the wall, you have 2 minutes, the floor is yours, please tell us about it.
Yeah.
There should be nothing. So there is a interview from the last year where Ian Hazakostas was asked, would you ever consider a time where Alliance and Horde players could be in a party together? And his response was, I am not going to say no to that idea. Mm-hmm. At this point, they need to be open-minded about everything. That does not mean they need to take every suggestion, but they should at least say, okay, I'm willing to at least let that suggestion be put in the box. We'll evaluate it. We might say no. But yes, if they need to delay 10.0, delay 10.0. If they need to rebuild the game from the ground up, do it. If they need to end World of Warcraft and move it into being a ladder-based classic experience where they re-release different expansions at different times, and they need to just release Diablo as their next MMO, then do that. We're going to have Diablo 4, we're going to have Diablo the MMO. Fine. I don't know where World of Warcraft is at right now. At some point, these things do have to come to an end, and Final Fantasy wrote their end into the script. Mm-hmm. World of Warcraft did not. And that means Final Fantasy got to choose their last day. World of Warcraft will be chosen for them. There will be a last day. And so if this is that day for World of Warcraft, then they just need to decide how they want to be reborn anew, because they don't need to shut the studio down. They don't need to kill the IP. Just launch another game. Age of Empires 4 came out last week.
Yeah.
You can just launch another game.
We should play that.
Halo Infinite is coming out in December. You can just launch another game. So if World of Warcraft ends, it's not the end of Warcraft lore. It's not the end of Warcraft-based MMOs. They just need to decide what that path is moving forward. And if 10.0 needs to compete directly with 14, then let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it. All right, guys. As always, let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling in the comments below. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out here with us live. Chris, you want to take us out?
Guys, we are going into the home stretch of 9.1.5 is apparently coming out tomorrow. Well, the game's not installed for me, but I hope people enjoy it. Mage Tower is amazing. I'm glad they're bringing that back. I'm glad Legion style stuff. I hope that people who are enjoying the game and are enjoying supporting Blizzard are doing so. It's not for me, but it's your call to make. With Final Fantasy right around the corner, finish your Endwalker prep. Be ready. Be rested. Get everything in order, in-game and out. And let's get prepared to charge into Endwalker together. To the moon and back. You guys take care. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.